Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking something absolutely massive. We are breaking down the Q1 2026 earnings report from Tencent. Now, if you follow global tech, you know Tencent isn't just a company. It's practically a digital ecosystem all on its own. But their latest first quarter results represent a really fascinating inflection point. We're going to look closely at what's currently acting as the fuel for this massive corporate machine and what's being built as the new engine for its future growth. There is a lot to unpack in these numbers, and I'm thrilled to guide you through exactly what they mean.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Q1 2026 big picture, then look at how AI fuels the ecosystem. From there, we hit gaming and social networks, check out the advertising growth engine, touch on fintech and business services, and wrap it all up with profitability and the bottom line.
All right, starting from the top. For the first quarter of 2026, Tencent reported total revenues hitting a staggering 196.5 billion RMB. To put that 9% year-over-year growth into perspective, they're basically adding a whole Fortune 500 company's annual revenue to their books every single quarter. Crazy, right? And the big theme driving this entire earnings release, the reason for this sustained upward trajectory, is the aggressive integration of artificial intelligence across their platforms. And this brings us to a quote from Tencent's chairman and CEO, Ma Huateng, that honestly nails the whole thesis of this explainer today. He noted, "Our core businesses continue to grow their engagement, revenue, and profit, providing the cash flow to fund our AI investments." This is literally the engine and fuel strategy in a nutshell. Tencent's legacy products, their established games, their social networks, that's the fuel. They're highly profitable cash cows. And they are pouring that cash directly into building their new engine, next-generation AI infrastructure and apps. They're using today's profits to buy tomorrow's market dominance.
Now, when we talk about that legacy core business, we've got to talk about this number, 1.432 billion. That's the combined monthly active users for Weixin and WeChat as of March 31st, 2026, a 2% year-over-year increase. Think about that. That is more than the entire population of North and South America combined, all captive inside a single digital ecosystem. It's absolutely crucial to keep this number in the back of your mind as we go through the rest of this, because every time they drop a new AI feature, an ad model, or a financial service, they have instant access to an unparalleled distribution advantage.
So how exactly do you monetize 1.4 billion people? Well, Tencent splits its massive empire into three main pillars. Nearly half of their revenue, 49%, comes from value-added services. This is primarily gaming and social network revenues. Then, 31% is fintech and business services. Think commercial payments and cloud computing. And finally, 19% comes from marketing services, which is their advertising business. That's the structural foundation of the company.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic shift happening inside Tencent right now. Check out this visual 1-2 punch. Value-added services makes up the biggest slice of the pie, but it only grew by 4%. Meanwhile, marketing services, the smallest revenue segment, surged by a massive 20% year-over-year. Fintech is sitting comfortably right in the middle at 9%. So the takeaway is clear. The money today is in gaming, but the explosive growth right now is happening in advertising.
Section 2. AI fuels the ecosystem. So, what is driving this accelerating growth? Tencent isn't just talking a big game about AI in the abstract, they are deploying it and getting immense market traction. The Q1 report highlights three major wins. First, their new Hi3 preview model. Built on a revamped AI infrastructure, it's top-ranked in its class for reasoning and coding, and since late April, it's actually been the most used model on OpenRouter by token usage. No small feat. Second is WorkBuddy, which they report is currently the most widely used productivity AI agent in all of China. And third, on the commercial side, is AIM Plus. This automated campaign tool is already powering about 30% of their total marketing spend from advertisers. They're building the tech, and the market is already adopting it at scale.
Section 3. Gaming and social networks. Let's zoom in on that 49% chunk of their revenue. We see a really fascinating split here between the domestic and international markets. Domestic games saw a very steady 6% year-over-year growth, bringing in 45.4 billion RMB. They noted a slight timing hit from the Spring Festival, but their evergreen titles, games like Honor of Kings, Peacekeeper Elite, and the newly qualified evergreen Delta Force are holding incredibly strong. In fact, Delta Force just hit lifetime highs in quarterly gross receipts. On the flip side, international games grew much faster at 13% year-over-year, hitting 18.8 billion RMB, driven heavily by titles like Clash Royale, Withering Waves, and Valorant PC. So you've got steady, reliable domestic cash flow paired perfectly with a fast-paced international expansion.
Section 4.
The advertising growth engine.
Marketing services revenue hit 38.2 billion RMB, which is a fantastic 20% year-over-year increase. How'd they do this? Well, the report is super clear. They upgraded their AI-driven ad recommendation models. By scaling up the parameters and algorithms, they delivered much more relevant content to users. That led directly to a 20+% jump in total time spent on video accounts. More watch time plus smarter AI ad placement equals better performance for advertisers, and that means Tencent can charge higher prices. It's a perfect closed-loop ecosystem of growth.
Section 5. Fintech and Business Services.
Let's move to the B2B side and see how this builds out. As a whole, this segment grew 9%, but if we dive into just the business services line, it surged by 20% year-over-year. That 20% jump is being led directly by domestic and international demand for their cloud services and, you guessed it, AI-related services. Alongside that, they're seeing rapid gross merchandise volume growth in their many shops, thanks to merchant incentives, and their commercial payment volume is speeding up year-over-year as people make more transactions in retail and dining. So, we've got steady gaming fuel, an exploding advertising growth engine, and surging B2B cloud and AI demand. The natural question for us to ask right now is, how does all of this top-line revenue actually impact the bottom line? I mean, growth is great, but is it profitable growth?
Section 6. Profitability and bottom line.
So the crucial point is, the strategy is working exceptionally well. Gross profit hit 111.3 billion RMB, up 11% year-over-year, meaning profit is actually growing faster than top-line revenue. Non-IFRS operating profit, which essentially reflects their true, everyday core earnings, was up 9% to 75.6 billion. But check out that bottom row. Free cash flow surged by a massive 20% to 56.7 billion RMB. This is the ultimate proof of their strategy. They are generating massive amounts of free cash that they can use to weather economic storms or, more importantly, aggressively fund their future ventures in AI infrastructure.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the number 17%. Buried deep in the financial release, Tencent notes that if you actually exclude the massive investments they're making into new AI products, things like Hai, Yuanbao, and WorkBuddy, their core operating profit actually increased by 17% year-over-year. Their operating margin excluding new AI products jumped to 43%. This tells us that underneath all that heavy R&D spend required to compete in the AI race, Tencent's foundational everyday businesses are becoming drastically more efficient and profitable.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. We've seen exactly how Tencent is using the incredible cash-generating power of its gaming and social networks to fuel a complete ecosystem-wide AI transformation. They've got a captive audience of 1.4 billion people, their ad targeting is getting exponentially smarter, and their free cash flow is up 20%. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on. With their core businesses operating at absolute peak efficiency and AI supercharging their capabilities across the board, what industry is this incredibly well-funded tech-forward giant going to disrupt next? Thanks for joining me, and keep learning.